Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to Circuit Stream's Demo Day 10th edition. This edition is for our XR development with Unity cohorts, and I am joined today with special guest Joe Gabriel from Niantic Lightship. So first and foremost, I would just love if anyone who's tuning in live could leave a comment. Let me know where you're tuning in from, what you do, and yeah, let's just get the conversation going and have just a really nice casual presentation today. So here is our agenda. So I am going to do a little bit of an intro for 10 minutes. We're going to go over the student projects with a Q&A for about 50 minutes. We're going to go over class projects presented by the instructors, and we're going to then do a prize draw and wrap up at the end. Hey, Lucy. Hey, Jerry. See you both in the comments. Thanks for coming out to support me. Calgary. Awesome. Okay. So who am I? I am Arcadius Miller. You can all call me Arky. I am the student experience coordinator here at Circuit Stream. I'm still new to live streams. These are always things that make me super nervous, but I'm just here to have a good time and really showcase our students' work. That's the most important thing here. A little bit about me. I have been in education for over 7 years, so I've worked as an instructor for continuing education. I've also worked on the admissions side of things. Fun fact about me, I do have a bachelor's degree in drawing, and my art has actually traveled to more countries than I have. And you know what? I'll share a fun fact that I haven't actually shared with anyone here before. I actually have, it's called synesthesia. It is... there's lots of different ways that it can manifest, but for me it means that I see colors with numbers and letters. So I used to make art about that for the longest time. So that's a little bit of a fun fact about me. And today, like I mentioned, we're joined by Joe Gabriel. So I am going to add Joe to the stage. Hi, Joe. You can introduce yourself, let people know what you're all about.
Hey, everybody. I'm Joe Gabriel. Thanks for having me out today. I feel really happy. Like, I get to take time out of my regular workday to come meet cool students and learners of VR and just XR development, making cool stuff. Like, I've been in the space for a while across VR and AR, but really, like, VR development has such a special place in my heart. Like, I am not a developer, but I entered as a UX designer kind of into the space, and that was my gateway into the AR VR industry. And there's just so much happening today with all AR VR companies. It's really exciting to see just, people learning and bringing whatever skill set that you have in your life up to this point, bringing that into the space is a really special thing. So fun fact about me is Dungeons and Dragons. I never thought I'd be into it. I was always like, I'm a nerd. I love Star Trek, Star Wars, playing video games, but I'm not like that kind of nerd, but now I'm definitely that kind of nerd. So what the next level is, for me beyond this. No coming back.
Oh, that's awesome. When I saw your intro earlier, I was thinking, you know what? I think I'm the one person who's never played Dungeons and Dragons, but everyone says the same thing. Oh, I didn't want to try it. That's for nerds. And now, look at you. You're part of the club.
Yeah, it's a fun hobby. And oh, there we go. We got a couple DMs here in the nice to meet you, Ozzy.
Ozzy's a dungeon master.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, this is a cool group.
Awesome. Well, we're so happy to have you. Thanks so much for joining us. I'll remove you from the stage for now, and we'll keep going along here. So who are we? Who's Circuit Stream? So we were founded in 2015 when we noticed a gap in the education world with regards to providing training to individuals and organizations that were looking to build AR and VR applications. And since 2015, we are proud to say that we've actually taught over 40,000 learners on how to create and manage these experiences. Circuit Stream is a Unity certified training and channel partner. And basically, partners are approved based on their expertise, focus on quality education, and commitment to providing the highest level of training available. Fun fact about Unity, they actually cover 60% of the market right now. So on the next slide here, you can see these are basically the certifications that CircuitStream holds with Unity. So our team, we are a global team, just like our students. The really amazing thing about the XR community is that it really is a global community, and tech is not bound by borders, location, anything like that. So we are a remote team of staff. There are about 40 of us now. Our headquarters are in Calgary, Alberta, which is where I'm located. But we do have, staff globally, as well as our students. Here is just a little snapshot of some of the companies that our students work for. So these are all companies that we have, had the pleasure of meeting their representatives and, teaching their staff, helping them level up their skills. So XR development with Unity. What is this all about? It's a 10-week program, 80 hours per week. We really see education as the center of what we do. This is what is key for us. So we have programs that are kind of mid-length like this. And what we're presenting today is our XR Dev students for our D2C side of things, as well as our university partnerships. So we do have a couple students joining us from the University of British Columbia extended learning side of things, as well as University of Toronto Continuing Studies, School of Continuing Studies. And now let us show the student projects. So first up, we have Erik Hauner, All Snakes, No Breaks. Let's bring Erik up to the stream. Hey, Erik.
Hi.
Did I say your last name right?
You did, yes. Thank you.
Yes. All Snakes, No Breaks. So a classic snake game, but you are the snake and you are on a bike. Awesome. And your instructors were Indika and Nakisa.
That's right.
So I am going to play your demo reel, and then Erik will have the opportunity to speak about his work, and then Joe is going to give a few minutes of feedback. So here we go.
And I'm going to show you my VR cycling game. Hi, I'm Erik, and I'm going to show you my VR cycling game. Here's what you'll need to play. Firstly, you're going to need a bike, so just roll that into frame. Connect the bike to a Bluetooth-enabled smart trainer. This device broadcasts cycling data and allows us to control the resistance. It has a flywheel to mimic a real bike. You're going to need a VR headset. I have an Oculus Quest 2, and you'll need to tether it to your gaming PC. Obviously, RGB is recommended. Attach the left VR controller to the handlebars securely. Its rotation determines the steering of the bike in the game. You can use a pivoting wheel block, or if you don't have one, a plastic bag containing all your hopes and dreams works fine. Then, just put on your face hugger and get on the bike. Okay, let's do a playthrough. You can use the right controller to press any UI buttons in the game. This is the pairing process where my computer is connecting to the smart trainer via Bluetooth. Once that's done, you're ready to pedal. On the left, you can see the metrics that are sent from the trainer to the computer. We've got speed, cadence, and power. As you eat these cubes of food, the number of points on the left goes up, and above the number of points you can see a bird's eye view map of the snake behind you. The speed of the bike in-game is determined purely by the speed reported by the smart trainer. To help the player find the next food item to eat, I added an arrow to the handlebars and a beam of light above each nourishing cube. Let's skip ahead a few minutes to when this gets a little more interesting with a longer tail. There are no guardrails on this map, so it's best to steer clear of the boundaries. By this stage, the tail has gotten long enough that it might be hard to avoid. You can see that it just about spans the whole height of the mini-map now. Okay, this next one is going to be a bit tricky because it's basically on my tail. I'm going to try that classic snake technique where I follow my tail. Clearly I miscalculated, so I'm going to turn around and try again. Got it. Uh-oh, I think I'm surrounded. Full disclosure, I'm not a professional actor, so in this case I'm both upset, but then also happy. So yeah, mixed emotions. Anyway, I'll save a picture. Of course, you can email this picture to all of your friends. During the game making process, there were a few challenges, which I'll talk about now. The Bluetooth connection between my PC and the smart trainer was probably the hardest part. Luckily, I found a project on GitHub where a developer shared a compiled C++ plugin that gives Unity access to the Windows Bluetooth interface. But I still had to do a lot of reading to determine which Bluetooth characteristics and services I needed to connect to. Another big challenge was tuning the physics of the car that surrounds the bike so it wasn't too shaky. And it was hard to get the rotation of the handlebars to precisely match the rotation of the car's wheels, since the pivot of the handlebars is not perpendicular to the ground. As for successes, I was able to quickly set up the snake tail as a line renderer with a queue of points and a series of sphere colliders that follow it. This was done efficiently by setting the positions of the existing objects rather than continuously instantiating new ones. Another piece that came easily was steering with the Oculus controller. I simply set an initial position during the pairing process, and then every additional rotation would turn the handlebars in the game. And lastly, with the help of my instructor, we had no trouble setting up the bird's eye view camera and image export. So, what's next? Arms. Branding and final score on the exported image, distance traveled and calories burned, more game mechanics that affect the resistance of the trainer, the ability to upload to Strava, a version for iPhone without VR to make the game more accessible, support for other bike trainer models, and I'd like to create a Bluetooth plugin for smart trainers to Unity so others can make games like this.
So awesome! Yay! You
Thank
got
you.
a few encouraging comments here. Kirsten, this is so cool. Aussie, epic. It is epic. When I saw this video for the first time, I was just laughing the whole time in a good way. Do you want to speak about your inspiration for this a little bit, Erik? And then I'll bring Joe onto the stage here.
Sure. I'm an avid cyclist, so I had this trainer, and I always thought it'd be cool to develop my own game for it. There's a game I play called Zwift. Quite often, whenever it's raining out, I bike inside and play that game. So I wanted to do another game that I could play on rainy days, basically.
Love it. Love it. Okay, let's bring up Joe.
Hey, Erik, that was, creating a compelling app of any kind is really challenging, but then making like a compelling video about a compelling app, well done. That was fun to watch too. I was just taking notes like a madman, the whole time I was watching. So I'm gonna go through a bunch of these, okay? And if it's helpful, I can jot these down and type them up and send them over afterwards if that's helpful as well. Number one, that fitness is awesome. I got to work with this group called Virtual Athletics League doing VR esports, and they were really trying to connect with lots of developers just making kind of fitness or health and wellness oriented applications. And this is great stuff. I love seeing the potential for apps to live even beyond, a capstone project, that there's a viable market that's being proven already with Supernatural, with Beat Saber, and lots of other really cool, fitness oriented apps, including the ones that you mentioned, Strava and What's the VZ Fit, or what's the cycling one specifically for the Quest?
Oh, I don't know.
You know what I'm talking
The
about?
one the one I
one of
mentioned
those.
was Zwift.
Zwift, not that one. There's another cool
Yeah.
one too. I'll shoot you a link to it. Yeah. I really like how you mentioned kind of next steps looking at arms, because that's what I was thinking when you were doing your initial kind of pairing, holding the single control. I was like, oh man, like that's a cool opportunity for gestural, hand input tracking moment right there. I'm happy to see kind of you're looking at those next steps. I do recommend like throw this up on SideQuest as soon as you're able to get some more user feedback. Real quickly, you'll start to see, things that users are liking, ideas they have, feature requests, places where they're getting stuck, friction points, all that stuff. But I really feel like this was a solid example of a really solid slice. It's a complete game loop. You're able to go from beginning, middle to end. Has a really clear kind of understanding of what that win state is, or that complete state. And I love that you kind of riffed off of just an existing game mechanic that's been around longer than we have. Snake as a game, right, is well understood and kind of played with. I really liked what you did with the visuals as far as wayfinding. I find that really challenging across a lot of VR apps, and knowing just like what's next, what should I be actually looking at, and actually being directed towards a specific direction using visuals or audio when possible is a really clever way to do that. And I like how you did that with the big bright pillars and its high contrast against like the existing environment. I wanted to ask kind of like, I like that in the side map that you had, like the mini map, when you're in headset, like how is that, is it small? Is it big? Kind of like, how does that feel in terms of viewability? You know what I mean? When you're like actually riding around.
Yeah, it was hard to put it in the right spot because you
Mhm.
don't want to block someone's view too much. So it's kind of like I tried to put it just outside of where you'd be looking if you were looking straight. So you
Yeah.
kind of have to move your eyeballs over to the side to see it a little bit.
That's nice. And clarity feels okay when you're kind of like shifting out of that primary field of view to kind of this secondary field of view feels okay. Like it's still clear vision wise.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, it's
awesome.
yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, strategic placement, because usually like head pinned UI is really tricky to work with. Usually UI is placed like pinned to the environment, not necessarily to the orientation or positioning of your headset. So that mini map moves along with your head, which can cause disorientation. But I think in this case, it's really smart that you place in this kind of secondary field of view off to the side for like just quick reference and not as like a primary UI in front of the user. I like also your thinking around social, like how do you share about in-game, activity, and like you have this little snapshot. And I think we've all seen with Wordle how interesting that's been, right? And just like a short snippet example of like your quick victory and how do you share that in a clever way. That's really cool. It'd be nice to see if there's, I couldn't tell if there's like, aside from like the path, if there's other like metrics or timestamp or anything on that social part, but really clever on that bit. And also just as a note for everyone listening here, you don't have to like rebuild or reinvent the wheel. I love that you pulled in kind of this third-party open source, Bluetooth piece that could help you just like speed up, your app. Reuse, rework whatever's out there. Of course, that opens up the door to all sorts of chaos, or potentially unmaintained resources, but you'll learn real quickly that most professional developers out there are doing the exact same thing, Googling answers and finding existing repos and libraries that are going to just help speed you up. So yeah, hats off. Well done, Erik.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. That was really awesome feedback. Erik, you got a few more comments here. Absolutely brilliant. I'd use this over Peloton any day. Love it. Me too. Me too, my friend. Okay, well, great job, Erik. Round of applause for Erik.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, gonna remove. Okay, who's next here? We have Zachary Abney. Let me find Zach. Where are you at? There we go. Hey, Zach.
Hi there.
Welcome.
Hard one to follow up there. That was unbelievable.
You're all great. Everyone's work is awesome. Come on now. Okay, so you are presenting Alone Together, a VR game inspired by the worlds of Firewatch and Among Trees. After the passing of your father, an inherited Great Dane helps bring you out of depression.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get right into your video, and then I'll have you speak a bit about it.
Sure.
Excuse me. I'm the water treatment specialist. I just came up here to test the water. I found a weird-looking guy playing with the locks on the dam. Did you see someone suspicious running or hiding in the trees down there? It's probably not a good idea to go near that old government site. Wow, what a cute dog!
Thanks.
What's her name?
Sadie.
Wow, that was actually really touching, Zachary. The first time I watched that, I was like, man, I hope I don't, I hope I don't tear up when we're live. David in the comments said having a pet is absolutely therapeutic.
Yeah, totally.
It's true. And just by the way, quick note, I'm seeing in the comments a few people asking where they can watch this later. I am recording, so you'll be able to find this on our YouTube channel later on. Just check our Demo Day playlist. So Zach, please talk about your project here.
Yeah, so I sort of wanted to try and build a game in a pretty short period of time, about 7 days, just because I work for the railroad right now. So I have to be away quite a bit. So I sort of give myself like this 7-day target to build this whole game. And originally I wanted to sort of make everything in Blender and then, try and do every single part of the game myself. But it didn't really work out so that I could do that. So I ended up having to buy some trees and things like that on the Unity asset store. But yeah, it's basically just sort of like a really the game is just sort of like a narrative based thing. I've always sort of loved Half-Life, and the first time I played Firewatch, it seemed sort of different from any game that I had ever played before, just because it was so you create a really strong sort of emotional connection with the character that you're playing as, and I kind of wanted to explore that. And then I don't know, I just thought that a lot of kind of neat visual stuff that I could probably do with it. So I know that there's not like a ton of super interactable stuff in there, but I'm hoping to sort of add maybe some more things in with that little robotics facility area that I had in there. So yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's a beautiful story. I could really feel that as we were going through the video. Felt emotionally connected. Yeah, me too. Let's bring Joe back up. Oh, it's Joe. Oh, Joe. There he is.
There we go. Hey, Zach, thanks for sharing, man. And I love seeing projects that you can tell an artist, creator, developer really puts like themselves into a little bit. It takes it to a whole different level, a very personal level that way. And just, I mean, everyone on this call, I think, has been impacted in some way over this last year and a half, 2 years. It's just been such a rough time for a lot of reasons, time and distance away from loved ones, from your colleagues, from activities and things that you're trying to do, that like the sense of peace and belonging and being, and like art in this kind of way helps, connects us as humans. So that's just deeply powerful. And I'm glad that you were able to make this in 7 days. Really impressive. So a couple thoughts that I was able to jot down while watching.
Yeah.
One of my good friends I had the chance to work with at The Void, David Whaley is his name, and he created a similar game called The First Tree, and it was similarly about a fox, that's trying to find his own sense of being after a tremendous loss in their own life. And like the thing is that games are powerful. Games are powerful communication tools, ways for us to convey complex human emotions and ideas in a way that's like abstract a little bit. Aesthetically, I love that you kind of drew from your experience with Firewatch, Among Trees. Like these are really beautiful games. If you have not played those games, anyone on this call, like I recommend that you take a nice weekend. And these are nice, kind of like 3 to 6 hour gameplay, like really small little gameplay sessions. And walking simulator games are actually some of my favorites, Zach. Talking about Gone Home, Abduction, Edith Finch, Dear Esther, like type of games. So this type of gameplay, it feels basic because like you mentioned, it's minimal kind of inputs, minimal kind of interactions, but that's where it draws on the storytelling and audio design. And I think that's my one question for you is like, this was nice as like a trailer. And I'm also curious kind of in game, what were your plans or thoughts around like audio design in that way?
I don't really know. Like I tried to, I just sort of wanted to move through as many environments as I possibly could. So you can't really tell there. Like I didn't have the in-game audio for a lot of those clips, but as you move through things like some of the volume triggers and stuff like that, and the lights sort of change and things. You hear crickets and different stuff like that, and then the actual robotics facility part, I didn't quite get around to actually putting that in there, but
audio, it takes a lot of time. And one of the things, I mean, especially for this type of gameplay is like there's this game called The Witness, where there's no audio, or there's no music, I should say. All of it is kind of like endemic, or what am I thinking? It's audio of just like the environment. It's just trees, water, leaves, wind blowing, but there's no like music underlying all of that. So that's an interesting creative choice, like how much you want to make that diegetic audio.
I should have mentioned actually in game, it's the exact same. There's no music. You can just sort of hear the stream going past you, and there's birds and different things like that you can hear in the trees.
Right. And that's a cool creative direction. Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned this too. I had a chance to look at your website and see like all of your Blender models. So I know that you like take a lot of pride, in your modeling work. The Unity Asset Store will save everyone so much time, and there are like some amazing assets out there. On top of just like assets that you can use, what you got to be careful of though is the level of detail and how well they're prepared for actual like in game. You probably ran across this a whole lot of assets that like look great but don't perform well, right? Will just like kill your frame rate, right? Yeah, so you got to test those out a little bit. And then also, did you do your own shader work, or was that also from like Unity Asset Store?
No, actually, I did all the shader work there. So I built the cell shaders, and then I built it's like a tri-colored fog shader.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm not sure if like working in shaders was part of the curriculum, but shaders are what will take kind of like basic looking assets and turn them into like, holy smokes, like this is another level of just unique kind of artistry, as part of that. Last detail here is like this type of narrative piece is what drew me into VR in the first place. Dear Angelica was a really early kind of VR piece that was just storytelling about loss and about like healing and about family, Yeah. So if anyone else here on the call that's listening is just trying to find an entry point, into either experiencing a powerful VR or creating a powerful VR use case, look inside, find something that's like, important and meaningful in your life. And like, how would I tell that as a story in a visual way? It's, as Zach showed us here, like it's definitely within reach, something that you can build. So Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Really wonderful feedback, Joe. Thank you. Okay, well, round of applause for Zach. That was awesome. And really, really touching. So I'm super happy that we got to show this today. Thanks, Zach. Okay, so next we have Jeremy, Nate, and Aisha, Flamingo Sunset. So today we are joined by Jeremy K. Hey,
Hello.
Jeremy.
How are you?
Wonderful, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm live streaming. Yeah.
We're live streaming. We're live. We're doing it live. Okay, so Flamingo Sunset was our final VR project for the XR development course. These are your classmates, and you worked with Nakisa and Jerry. So let's go ahead and play video, and then we'll chat about it. Okay, short and sweet.
Sure.
Yeah, so share about your project with us.
Right. So we made a game in 7 days, the three of us. And so to play our game, you start in this world, which we call Flamingo Sunset, where you can walk around with the locomotion on the thumbstick. And there's a pedestal with a button and a tractor gun on the top. If you can grab the tractor gun with your grab control. Once you have it in your hand, you can press the trigger to shoot the beam, and the beam doesn't pick up anything unless you press a button, a third button on the controller. And once you selected a cube with the beam, you can grab one of the boxes, and you're supposed to slam them against the green Jello spheres in the back. And if you do that 3 times in the right order, then you win the game. And there's also a 1-minute time limit to complete that quest. If you fail and you press the button with 2 without doing the 3 boxes, then a box comes in the middle of the field, and it makes it harder to get to the end. So it's a harder quest to complete.
Okay, so it's meant to be short and sweet. It's meant to be a 1-minute thing.
Yeah, it's like a small sample of what we thought we could do. My whole quest for this was to make a tractor beam. That was what I wanted to do, and I spent most of my time trying to figure that out. The other 2 partners, Nate was working on shaders and the flamingos and the models, and Aisha Gaffney was working on the landscape and the sunset part of it. And so for my part, like trying to make the tractor beam, it was, we used a lot of what we learned in our course, and the Jerry was teaching us how to do a transport beam, which is the curved line, which was part of what I used, but I had to figure out how to make a joint to connect the item at the end, and to make that all work together was kind of a mission, but I was able to get it to work after many code refinements. And then Nakisa had given us some code to show us how to make a puzzle, and so I integrated that so that there's a puzzle element with grabbing the boxes in the right order and pressing the button. And yeah, I was happy because I was able to bring all that together using like abstract classes and things that I learned in the course that I had never done before. Even though I've been programming for a long time, I'm new to C#, so using that kind of stuff is new for me and really cool. The music, I wrote the music in my studio here, and my inspiration was using the synthwave sort of look we had and trying to match something that those Jello shaders that Nate made, like it has a sort of a rhythm to it. So I was trying to match the synth to the Jello shader. And that seemed to work pretty good. So then I started a song from there, and that's where it ended up. And we put the song on afterwards. We didn't have time in our 7 days to put it into the game, but that was a post-video production. Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. People in the comments are commenting on your music.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So yeah, in the future, like I would have liked to, we did this, all of our interactions, like my tractor beam, we made them from scratch. So I didn't use the interaction toolkit or Hurricane VR. And in the future, I think I would like to use a toolkit, so I'm not battling simple mechanics. But that was a good experience, and I'm happy that we were able to make all this come together and deliver it on time at the end of our 7 days and not have to go into overtime. And this is just a snapshot of that. Like we didn't go afterwards and to touch it, actually. It was just like 7 days of work.
Oh, that's excellent. And James, that's the kind of music I'd like as a soundtrack for my life. Me too. Okay, let's add Joe back to the stage here.
Jeremy, super cool, man. Okay, I got a bunch of fun notes for you. Number one, I dig the cyberpunk vibes, man.
Yeah.
Somebody brought that, totally dig that. One of the first like VR esport tournaments that I had a chance to help organize was with this group that made Blasters of the Universe. I'm not sure if you had a chance to play that one, but
No.
Definitely recommend, because I think you guys would find like, really cool kind of as an inspiration, to look at like, what are these guys doing as a shooter that's like cyberpunk, but also kind of a wave-based game. What I thought you did really unique is you kind of combined, a familiar shooter genre with puzzles. And that's something that's always really interesting to me, when a developer can take kind of a well-known mechanic or a well-known like genre and then add something new to it. I had a chance to attend a Oculus Launchpad a few years ago, and Jason Rubin, who at the time was like, I don't know, VP of product or something at the time. A lot of questions everyone asked him is like, what type of apps is Oculus looking for? What type of apps are selling best? What type of games, are going to work best on the platform? And he said, it's hard for us to tell, but the best advice I can give you is find something that works really well, that already exists, and then add something fresh to it. And that's what it feels like. Kind of what your team's going for here is bringing that puzzle element. Another quick note, and if anyone else on the call has kids, calls are fun. I have 4 kids, and my boys are always just beating on each other all the time. So it's a typical Friday. The last. I love how you mentioned that while there are existing kind of interaction tools, interaction toolkit, to kind of like just plug and play, bring this thing in, which can save you time. I love that you actually like went that extra mile to try and do it yourself. I mean, there's so many things that you will learn along the way in doing that. And if anyone has ever played a Dark Souls game or From Software or playing Elden Ring right now, what Jeremy did there is basically the Dark Souls of development. Creating your own interactions in VR is super tough. But what it really grants you, though, is that it's rather than like a vanilla kind of input system, you got something custom, and that it's harder, but it's a high risk, not high risk, but it's a high reward, after this, where you really get to kind of crack your own kind of unique interaction out of that. And that's really cool. I heard this interesting anecdote where, and it's super generalized, but it was like a lot of American game dev studios or Western game dev studios, they have these like game design documents that are like 10 pages long that go through like all the character and backstory and theme and aesthetic. And then like on the final page, it's like core mechanic and game loop. And then if you contrast that with some of like the top like Japanese game developer studios, it's a one pager and it's only about the game mechanic kind of core loop right there. And so I think that's really the challenge. And I'm not sure like how you feel about it, but do you feel like you nailed like the core mechanic, the core gameplay loop, you know, of this experience in Flamingo Sunset? Like, was there enough time to really suss that out, do you feel?
I mean, I would have liked to have more time. Originally, I wanted to have it so that you could actually lift up a box and stack them. But like, because there wasn't enough time and we had to pull in for our deadline, I found that it was skiddling along the ground quite nice. That ended up being the game in the end. After we were like, wait a minute, this actually could work pretty well if we just do it this way. And
that's great. Yeah, and usually it's those small kind of discoveries like, this is actually really fun, you know, or this is a fun little mechanic. I like how you kind of pulled all of these elements in, gameplay, music, aesthetic, into a nice slice, you know, of a great proof of concept. And then for like a next step, it would be how can you build on that core mechanic to flesh that out and strengthen it. So really well done, short period of time. And it looks like you guys just had a lot of fun making this one.
Yeah, it was pretty fun. Yeah. Thank you.
Good job, man.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Okay, round of applause for Jeremy and team. Excellent. Okay, awesome. Thanks so much, Jeremy. I am going to remove you from the stage. And now, my doggy's coming to interrupt. Okay, next we have Keith Andersch and Marisa Paat. So let me find you. Marisa, nice. Okay, so Returning the Stars is a short VR experience where you must return the fallen stars back to where they came from, interact with your trusty leaf blower while you wander around to find the fallen stars. Very fun. Okay, let's watch your video.
In a world where stars fall down, you need to step up and turn the stars. Returning the Stars. Returning the Stars is a single-player VR experience created by Jagpal Johar, Keith Andersch, and Marisa Paat for the Circuit Stream XR Dev Game Jam November 2021 edition. This is a game where you must return falling stars back to where they belong with your trusty leaf blower. We started the project by generating some ideas based on the theme of the game jam, which was creating and shooting. We also agreed upon some tighter restrictions, including not doing a traditional first-person shooter, and there would be no killing. This led to the idea of gathering stars and returning them back to the constellation they came from. As the player, you will run across the map, pulling each star onto the leaf blower, then take aim at an empty star location on the Big Dipper constellation. Once all stars have been collected, the player is rewarded with a firework display. Most environment assets were grabbed from the Unity Asset Store. The level and leaf blower was created by Marisa. Jagpal also supported environment flair, including a firework particle effect with sound. Keith created the constellation and spawning mechanics. Here are some of the takeaways on our project. The good. The team came together and decided on an idea quickly, limiting the scope and not allow scope creep. Learning more about the pipeline from incorporating 3D models from Maya into level design, sound design, using Git for collaboration, and building the project. The bad. Using Git, while overall is good, led to lost hours in fixing check-ins. Time ran out on the Game Jam version. We did go back to do cleanup, which included fixing transitions, added a time element, which included a night to day transition complete with Rooster Crow, and a try again UI. The learned. Got a deeper understanding of how Unity behaves and the gotchas. Got to use dot between for animations. Learned a lot about using audio source and audio clips. Learned more about the scene management. Learned more about GitHub and working with XR Interaction Toolkit. This was a great project to whet our appetite for what the XR world has in store for us. Thanks to Usman Mir for his assistance and expertise during the class.
Great work, you two. Okay, we got actually quite a few comments about this one here. Let's see. Yeah, no, that looks super fun. So what do you both want to share about your project here?
Yeah, so this was part of the game jam that we were in Ozzy's November class, and it was just a fun little project that really just kind of brought the three of us. Jock Paul let us. He's not with us right now, but in this right now, but allowed us to kind of focus on a single idea and just kind of elaborate and actually create a little game that I thought was pretty fun to do, and learned quite a bit based on what we learned in class.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was really different than what I normally do. I'm more on the chaotic side. So when he chose Jog Paul's idea, I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be more of a Zen meditative game. I was like, so we can't have the stars explode if you don't get to them on time. But it was a really fun experience, and I enjoyed working with this team.
Excellent, gang. Okay, I'm going to remove.
Oops. Just yourself.
Hey, Keith, Marisa, thank you so much. That was really cool to see. And the video does a great job kind of walking through, I think, the core elements of the gameplay experience. So I'm just going to shoot through some of my notes, not in any particular order, but I like how you riffed on like the shooting direction, rather than like shooting a gun, you're like shooting stars, and like you don't always have to like fit into this little mold, of what the project is, and you found a really creative way to kind of expand on that. So that was cool. While using, of course, like a nice shooting kind of release mechanic of the stars that you're fixing the constellations. That was cool. I had a question around ergonomics. Like, how was it? Did you feel as you're I'm trying to think of many games I've played where like looking back or up for any kind of extended period, like has that created any like discomfort? Did you have to adjust kind of the positioning of the constellations to make it more comfortable? What was that experience like?
That was one of our first concerns, because stars are usually way up there.
Yeah.
The where we put it right there is kind of, I didn't feel it was too bad where it was in the sky, because you're not most of the time you're not looking up there, you're running around trying to find the stars. So I didn't feel it was too bad. My bigger concern was on the ergonomics of holding the leaf blower. That one was on my hand. That was a little bit more not as fun.
Oh, interesting. Was it a one hand, or was there kind of like a two hand anchor point?
It was a
like
single hand.
Single hand. Gotcha. Okay. So like holding your arm up like towards it's less like down by your waist, how you typically can kind of point it around, right? Now that makes sense. And like the constellation position did seem pretty optimal, kind of like lower in the sky is what it looked like. It wasn't like directly above you type of thing. That's cool. And I really like seeing its animation's fun, but also really challenging, and just like the gentle way that you like point and then release the star back to the constellation. I don't know if anyone's seeing this as closely, but like it could have just been like a direct like disappear here, reappear here, type of thing. But it was this nice gentle line. But when it approaches it, it kind of goes up and then it like eases down a little bit, and it's just this like really gentle animation curve, that's happening there. And that little bit of easing can go a long way. So anyone here that's like working on animation, it's always those little details about like how do you make it, like how can the animation lend itself to a certain emotion or like vibe. Like it shouldn't be, if this is meant to be a Zen experience, it shouldn't just be super fast, but like nice and easy. So I think you totally nailed that part. I like how you commented also on versioning and Git management and maintenance. I don't think enough groups talk about this, but that's a major friction point for a lot of small teams, is just how do you do this in a way that doesn't junk up the pipeline, right? Like you're spending so much time working on this. So that just comes with experience. There are resources out there for like small team Git management, but it's also until you get in there and like find your own, like how do you do it across your team, small team or medium-sized team. But that's like real life skill set. When you enter any kind of company, this is a skill that it'll be great kind of having this team dynamic already kind of under your belt a little bit. So great job. Next bullet is on cleanup. I'm really glad you mentioned this also. What you're seeing here, everybody, on these videos, these are kind of like a finished product, or mostly, polished as best as possible. But what happens along the way is that there's optimizations that have to be made. There's code cleanup. There's draw calls that you're looking at to make sure that your frame rate and performance are working well across different moments, where maybe there's more animations here than here. How's the performance dip, when you're seeing these things happening or when certain interactions are happening. So it's good habit and good practice to clean up along the way. But oftentimes, many projects, you get kind of used to the friction on your side as a developer. But then the end user, they come in for their first time and they're like, this feels kind of clunky, right? But you just come to accept it as just like a normal part of your own project. So always be thinking along the lines of, what do I need to clean up? And don't leave it for the last day because it takes time, right? Last thing I'll add is that I'm really impressed with your lighting, however you did that. Most apps you'll see are kind of done with like really kind of nicely, especially on a Quest. This is a mobile chipset that doesn't have a huge range for like dynamic lighting sometimes, where most environments are kind of pre-baked, right? They're nicely lit, they're bright and baked. But what you have here are dark environments with like a lot of shadows that are moving around with dynamic lighting, which can eat up your performance quite a bit if you're not careful. So it looked pretty smooth, but great job, working on that. Did you notice any performance around lighting, or how has that been managing on your side?
I didn't notice too much. I did after the initial game jam, I did go back to try to play with the lighting a little bit, using baked lightings, and but that kind of it didn't work with the dark environment what we were trying to do, so it didn't. I think I pulled that out on the last version.
Nice. And then last question from Marisa. You mentioned kind of like you bring that chaos, to your projects. How is it for you kind of working on this project as a result?
It was nice that the project itself was very calming, because behind the scenes, I think I was banging my head against the computer. So when I went into testing it, was like, oh, actually, this is nice. This is good. And then
good. Yeah.
It was a good balance, I think.
Totally true. And I think that's a meaningful detail for anyone listening here, is that like sometimes you'll get assigned to dev projects where you're like, you might not like at the beginning resonate with this project. This wasn't my first project. Maybe this was my second or third, but my boss signed off on this one, so I got to do it. But like as you fall into the project, like that's where you'll find your own groove, and you'll find ways to connect with it that are meaningful for you too. So great job, team.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Joe. Really, really great job, you two. This was this great combination of fun and relaxing. So I'm totally resonating with what you're both talking about and kind of your process here. So yeah, really, really great. Round of applause for both of you. Excellent. Anything else you wanted to discuss?
Nope.
Okay, we're feeling good. Nice. Okay, thank you. Remove both of you here. Okay. Now, last but not least, for our individual students presenting here, we have Mondae Atughonu. Let's bring you up. Did I say it right?
You got it. I was surprised.
Okay, so Monday we're presenting the VR Nightclub, a full VR nightclub with NPC characters, music, and multiple play areas. the player is able to navigate and interact with this area using a full body Ready Player Me VR avatar with rigging and a music controller. And you worked with quite a few instructors here. You worked with Ozzy for he was your actual course instructor, and then you were working with Levester and Dustin one-on-one. They were your one-on-one mentors.
Okay.
So let's play video and discuss. And by the way, everyone, Monday warned me that it might be a little bit loud. So we're ending on a bang here for the individual projects.
Shoes on, get up in the morning, cup of milk, let's rock and roll. Kick out, kick the drum, rolling on like a rolling stone. Sing a song when I'm walking home, jump up to the top of the brown. Bing bong, call me on my phone, nice tea, and I got my ping pong. This is game heavy, can't hit baseball, I'm ready. Life is sweet as honey, yeah, this beat shaped like money. This go overload, I'm into that, I'm good to go, I'm down, you know I go low. Bring a friend, join the crowd, whoever wanna come along. Word up, talk, just move right we up the wall. There are lights, skies are light, so we dance to the break of dawn. Ladies and gentlemen, I got the medicine, so you should keep your eyes on the ball. This is getting heavy, can't handle bass, boom, I'm ready. Life is sweet as honey, yeah, this bitch shaped like money. This go overload, I'm into that, I'm good to go, I'm down, you know I go.
Oh, so good. I was just bopping discreetly. Yeah, I love it. Okay, we got a lot of comments here. Love this one. I was thinking the same thing. David's wondering, did you get the characters from the asset store?
Yes, so the characters were part of a pack called Toon City People, and it just gives you, I think it's like, base model is like 6 men and 6 female base models, but then each base model has a ton of different variations. You can change like their weight, what kind of accessories they have. So that was like huge for the avatars, because I all of a sudden had access to like tons of people to fill this space without repeating the same, 5 or 6 avatars over and over again.
Awesome. Okay, hope that answers that question. Yeah, Night at the Roxbury stuff. Yeah, okay, excellent. So yeah, what would you like to share about your project, Monday?
Yeah, so really this project came from me kind of getting introduced to Ready Player Me, and I really wanted to do something that was using that avatar. And one of the things that's always kind of I wouldn't say bothered me to like made me mad, but I don't really like the half body avatars. So I started asking the question, why is it so hard to get like a full body avatar? And this project showed me why it's so hard to get a full body avatar. It was a good challenge. I think I challenged myself. I knew scripting was one of my weaknesses that I wanted to get better at. So I tried to do a lot of my own scripting on this side and then using like the assets from the asset store to kind of speed up that process. And then filling the space. I mean, I think one of the biggest things that I miss with COVID is being able to like go out and hang out with my friends at the bar or at a club or just having that social experience. So I know that there is some social environments where they always just feel so empty. So I wanted to challenge myself to create that true VR experience where you have people walking around, you have, bottles that you can interact with. So the music selector actually changes the music of whatever room you're in. So I wanted to, you can go in there and like create your own nightclub. Like I've given you the show, but if you want to have a night out salsa dancing with friends, you can. If you want to have a rock and roll night or, or country music night, you really can, and just have that like true unique club experience.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, Joe, bringing you back on stage. Oh, you're on mute.
Happy Friday. There we go.
There we go.
Thanks for bringing the energy here to kind of wrap this up. This was really cool. Yeah, I got a bunch of notes here for you. So I love how you touched on kind of a lot of avatar solutions right now don't include legs for a lot of reasons, right? But I mean, the consistent feedback that I've always seen and heard is like people don't feel properly represented in their avatar form when they don't have legs, and like how they're being perceived by their peers or by others in their space, like part of them is missing, right? So I love that you were thinking about that going into your app. I wanted to ask too, kind of like, was the inverse kinematics, like the IK, was that like through Final IK, or were you using, does Ready Player Me have kind of IK like plugins?
No.
Yeah.
So I actually I used animation rigging to kind of take the Ready Player Me, because it does have kind of like its own pseudo armature built into the Ready Player Me avatars.
Yeah.
So then I used animation rigging, bone renderer, and like rig builder to actually build the rig, and I scripted the rig myself. So I found a few different sites where they walk you through like different steps of it, but I wanted, the walking animation for the legs to be a little bit tweaked, and I wanted to add in, only the legs animate, so the player could still move his arms however they want to, but the feet animate as the XR rig moves.
I love that. Yeah.
Creating like a unique avatar mask for the animation was like a lot, but yeah, IKs is I think I bit off a little bit more. I was banging my head against the wall for a while there, but it was fun.
That's another one of those, I think, development on hard mode, type of areas for sure. For those on the call, like inverse kinematics generally is being able to use algorithmically, the positioning of your head and hands in order to dictate like programmatically where would it predict your legs are in this instance, but it can look pretty janky sometimes. And so Mondae here, went the way of like kind of creating your own kind of custom unique rigging for those skeletons and for those models. And that's really cool. What you'll see very often is developers kind of using kind of these pre-baked animations, and they just get reused a lot, across different apps. But where things get really interesting is when teams kind of take that extra step to have those custom animations that feel right, for that vibe or for that environment. So way to go. That's super cool. My next note, I love how big the space was that you crafted out too. Like that was expansive. I've spent time in VR chat and alt space and other kind of social areas, and to get that sense of presence or the sense of like there's a lot of people in this area, oftentimes they kind of cheat to like just make it smaller but more volume and people kind of crammed in there a little bit. I think how you designed it was really smart though, because in those smaller areas where it's really crammed, often you'll get some performance issues, right? But by spreading it out a little bit, you can kind of limit, how many instances or avatars or models are being used in one area, and then spread that out a little bit. So that was really cool. I like seeing bigger spaces used like that. NPC interactions. I'm curious to hear about that. Like, in the current build, are there any like, in a club in general, it's hard to hear. You can't really talk. You're just dancing,
Yeah.
right? But like, do you have any kind of NPC interactions planned down the line, or are there any currently?
Yeah. So currently I do, excuse me. So I have it built in currently. So like if you collide with an NPC, like a male says oof and a female says ah or something like that. So I have like those slight interactions. But really what I want to do and kind of what I've been building out is like interactable zones within kind of like that space. So if you go to the bar and you're in like seat A, you can click a button to then start like a pseudo conversation with like the girl sitting next to you.
Very clever.
Or if you're on the dance floor, you change the music to like a salsa song. You know, certain people might change their dance and like get more excited about it and things like that. So I've definitely been working on it. And then also, you know, building an avatar selector library. So I would love for this to be a networking opportunity. So
Yeah,
building
100%.
a library of characters for people to choose from, so that way you can log in, select your avatar, and same thing. I don't want every NPC to look the same. I don't want every player to look the same.
There's, and I'm so glad you're getting into this. This is cutting edge stuff, everybody here. Like I think as gamers, we might take it for granted, like NPC interactions, but there's some really powerful tooling happening right now with open AIs like GPT-3, and you can actually plug that into your like Unity characters so that you can have like think dynamic conversations that are not pre-scripted or like scripted out necessarily. It's like mind-blowing, you know, the opportunities there to have really unique kind of NPC interactions. Last note here, liquids. Jeez, man. I mean, why do you gotta go so hard like that? Like developing from liquids. I don't know if anyone here played like Half-Life Alyx, you know, for example.
Yeah.
Liquids was a big deal there, right? And kind of glass mechanics, right? And just like that's really tough stuff. And I love that you spent just a moment in your video kind of showing like, I'm just pouring out a drink, guys. Like that's actually a big lift in development. So really very cool. I'm glad you had some room for K-pop in there. Last question, I guess, is on like your networking solution. I saw that you were looking at UNet. Are you totally married to UNet, or are you looking at like Photon, Normcore, some other options there as well? Okay.
Yes. So I started with UNet just because I thought it would be a little bit easier, and I have a bad habit of trying to challenge myself. So I was like, everybody uses Photon. I want to use UNet. I just want to give it a try. And I got like halfway in and ran into a lot of issues when I wanted to like have different people using different avatars that wasn't loaded into the UNet. So I definitely think I'm going to go with Photon, but I probably will schedule some one-on-ones or some more instructor time to help with Photon.
Right. Good for you. And like, kudos to you, I think, for challenging yourself too. Yeah, I mean, like all solutions, I think, have their own quirks and challenges there. And, you know, you'll find your sweet spot, you know, on your use case and kind of what the documentation and like community looks like behind each solution. So way to go. Final question is like, there's a lot going on in your environments. Like there's fog happening, there's music, track switching, there's multiple models, like dozens, you know, in each space. How did performance feel as you're kind of moving through the club?
So I was initially, everything was always active and performance was terrible. So one of the things that actually Levester and I talked about during my one-on-one was creating those room switches. So as a player walks through the club, different switches or bools are turned on, which then activates, you know, what we think you're going to be going to. So if you hit the red corridor, we know that you're going to be going to the main club room. So now everything else is shut off. The main club is shut on, which optimizes performance, because walking with the avatar, you could feel the lag when like all of a sudden you have 150 characters doing a dance. But if you're only in the main club, I only turn on the 12 characters that are there. And to kind of offset that, I created static characters, which are the dancing characters, and then walkable characters. So the walkable characters are always turned on. So even if there's an issue, you'll still see those walkers moving around. And then the static characters and some of like the club elements turn on and off with those invisible switches I built in.
Folks, this is the behind the scenes secrets of game developers. Not everything is on all the time. You are puppet masters and you get to like hide away the stuff you don't need people to see to save yourself performance. So Monday, this is fantastic. Thank you for sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Thanks, Monday. That was That was so awesome. That is a really, really fun note to end the individual projects on. And you should be really proud. This is huge. This is huge.
Thanks.
So applause for Monday. Amazing. Okay, so I'll remove you from the stage, Monday. So what's next here, friends? Now we have Usman Mir. He is one of our, here, I'll add you there, Ozzy. Hey, Ozzy. So
Hey.
Ozzy is one of our XR development instructors. So you are going to be showing a demo reel from your Cohort's game jam, right?
That's right.
Okay, awesome. Let me know when it's ready and I'll add it to this stage here.
Sure. Yeah. Let me. I'll start sharing my screen here.
And by the way, if there's time, then Joe can certainly provide feedback on this as well as Indika's. But I know Joe needs to leave at 1:30, so we'll just see what we have time for here.
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds good. But I got my screen share going, so you can put that up, whatever.
Okay, there we go.
All right. Well, for the game jams for my classes, I had two, one for the afternoon cohort and one for the PM cohort. And this PM cohort's project was also Monday's team. So it's a nice coincidence that he's here and just went before me. And as a side note for Optimization Monday, you can even take that a step further. Instead of it's just the room you're in gets turned on or off, but you can kind of work with the camera's frustum and just say what the camera has view of is active and some stuff around that. So as they turn, their camera view, certain things are turning on and off. But I'll leave that be. Maybe you could look into that a bit further. All right, but the game jam projects, I'm just going to share this teams here for the PM cohort. So this one was kind of like a tower defense in VR. So you build fences and you shoot down any of these zombies coming towards the actual tower, like a classic tower defense. Once they get there, they start destroying the gates, and you need to defend it. And the theme for our game jam was shooting and building, I think. And so Monday's team here tackled on that game jam, come up with something unique, something that matches the theme, and something that's fun. So this is the example here. So there's the tower there. And see if I can pull up the demo. And part of it was they have all these weapon choices laid out throughout the map. And this is one of the things Monday was going on with was creating a bunch of different extensions to customize the gun. And I think they put a lot of time into that. As they go, let me see if the play, there we go. So here's the play demo. They're building fences. They've got all these extensions for lighting, muzzle flashes when they're shooting, some sounds that I don't believe I can share, but they're going around grabbing different guns. And the bridge is going to have a bunch of zombies coming through, and those are the ones that they are defending against. Let's see, and they can at any time spend the money to build bridges to hold them back. So these fences, I should say, to hold them back. It's quite gory, for sure. It was a tough decision between this one and then the falling stars. But that's the idea. They move towards the tower, start attacking it, decreases their health. So that was the PM cohort's project. And then we have the afternoon one. Sorry about the blood. It's okay. The afternoon cohort's game jam project was, sorry, I'm a little stuffy, suffered some allergies from my cat. But anyways, this one, a Oculus Quest app here, where you're entering this kind of stranded island. You're going around completing different tasks to progress. Let's see if I could pull over here. And as you go through this island, you find this box to get into different boat parts, and you build a boat in VR. See if I could get to that stage there. There we go. So yeah, we're getting a tool, and they've got the nice fishhook teleporting thing going. Hammer to go up to the giant box from IKEA, I believe is the gag there. And so once they've teleported here, they get on top of the bag and start smashing it apart until the box breaks. And then they have all the pieces to make their boat. And they can take each of these pieces to some of these paint buckets and color them differently, as you can see, the red, blue, and whatnot. There we go. So they can go to one of these buckets, for example, and I think one of the bugs they were having is that they can actually color their hands as well, or just the right hand for some reason. But yeah, so the key idea there is the paint buckets color the boats. And once they get over here, they place in this kind of holographic version of the boats. They put the pieces in the appropriate spots and get that experience set up. Yeah, that's it. And then once they've done the boat puzzle, they will go to the rest of the island. They can hop on those palm trees and such, and continue the experience with some more puzzles. But that was the state of this project. I'll call it there.
Okay, very good. So I'm curious, when you are doing a game jam, I know that you create a scope, but do the students decide kind of what the theme is going to be in terms of like the setting, or how do you all determine that?
So for this theme, if I remember correctly, it was around building and creativity. So yeah, David watching it. So they come up with whatever gameplay loop they want, whatever ideas they have in mind. They kind of decide on it together as a team and build out an experience in the 1.5 weeks they have. During those 3 class sessions between that one and the last one, we teach things that are relevant to the students' ideas. So some of the people would say, okay, this is what we're trying to make. And then in class, I will prepare a lesson. Okay, lesson 18, we are going to go over shaders, because a lot of people were interested in it. So they're like, I want to create holograms. I want to create lightning skins or something. Those kinds of things we'll do. Or some people are like, how do I create, a grid snapping system? How do I create this AI system? And we'll, in those last few sessions, create a very custom lesson plan. That's the idea. And so that's kind of what went on.
Okay, very nice. Just for the sake of time, I'll bring Joe up quickly. Joe, if you have any comments, you can do like a 30-second sound bite.
Oh, I got time. Sorry, I didn't see your chat. I was getting my notes here. Ozzy, these are cool. Congratulate your students for what they came away with, after this short jam. Couple quick things. Tower defense, such a cool genre, first of all, but I love the spin, that this took on it. Typically top-down experience, but this one you're on the ground and you get to shoot. One thing that I was really curious about was like with a tower defense, typically you have this map view. I can see everything happening and I can kind of plan in advance, right? When you're on the ground though, like you're limited by what's kind of in your perspective or distance wise. Like, do you see any opportunities there for like mini maps, or like how would someone know that like a new wave is coming or something like that? What's the visual or maybe audio indicator of like where you need to go build?
So for this one, there was kind of like these holograms for where you can build your fences, and then the zombies can either try and go around them or just break down those fences. They're always coming from the bridge. That's current setup for this. But yeah, Mondae is the one who again, his team is the one who worked on this one. But
that's cool.
It is a very
and
cool.
It's kind of free placement too. Like it's not like you can only place fences on these lines. Like it's you can kind of craft that yourself.
It is based like this is a position for a fence you could place. So
Nice.
That's the only
Okay.
position that works. So it
It
is
helps,
grid-based
guide
in
that
that
a
way.
little bit.
But yeah,
Um,
I think it would be easy for them to adjust it to place it wherever they like.
It's very clever. No, I really like that design on that. And Stranded Island, this it seems super satisfying. Like I can definitely like put myself in the shoes of like someone playing this and not quite zen, but like chill. But also like breaking boxes, very satisfying. I'm glad that it's not just like open, ping, but like there's a little smash action there. That's really nice.
Yeah.
Paint customizations are cool. I really liked actually the 3D puzzle mechanic of just like assembly, rather than just like pressing a button, poof, and it's assembled. Like there's a little bit of satisfaction there of, IKEA folks here, putting something together, right? And I
Right.
see an opportunity for like different levels of complexity by breaking down those 3D models into smaller or more complex pieces or something like that to add a different level of difficulty there. I meant to ask, is there like do you ever get to escape the island on your boat? Do you sail away? What's that finished state look like?
I don't believe they did that, but that's definitely an interesting extension of it. I think they could possibly make it into more of a puzzle game and then add screws that you would use in IKEA,
Oh,
use some
yeah.
Allen keys to construct some more complex puzzles. But yes, creating a raft and maybe more of a survival game, and you're working towards making a raft to escape, that would be very cool as well.
I dig it. That's cool. Yeah. Way to go. Good job.
Good job, everyone. Class, and I'll make sure that the individuals who made this one watch this recording and hear your feedback.
Okay, awesome. Oh, let's go back up here. Okay, thanks so much, Ozzy. Let's remove you here. Okay, so next up we have Indika Wijesooriya. Wijesooriya. Is Indika here? There he is. Hello.
Hi, Aki. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good. It's almost after the midnight for me. Joining all the way from the other side of the world.
Yeah, talk a little bit about where are you from? Not everyone here knows you, so it's like, yeah, you said it's just after midnight.
I'm sorry.
What time did you say it is?
Oh yeah, it's about 3 a.m. right now.
Oh, yeah, way past
3 a.m.
midnight.
on a Saturday. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so you said you would like to talk about your video first, and then you're going to be presenting, right?
Of course. All right. So let me share my screen. So, okay. All right. You can put my screen. All right. So so this is our final this is the final project of the class that I did for UBC, the UBC XR Dev course. So so we didn't do a game jam, but instead we were thinking of collaborating on just one project. So everybody so at the start of the final project, what we did was we got into a Google document, and we kind of scrubbed down our ideas. So we came up with like a bunch of ideas, and then we kind of voted on each of these ideas, and we came to around 2, and ultimately we kind of combined all of these ideas together, and ultimately we ended up with a space-themed, very dark escape room, right? So this was the initial name, the VR space-themed, very dark escape room. And then, of course, we we understood some sort of co-interactions, and we noted them down. And at the very end of this document, we kind of distributed different components of the project. And so this is what we ended up with, right? So when it comes to the development of the project, I know there has been some discussion going around with in terms of GitHub. So we wanted to use GitHub to to kind of simulate the actual work, like a workplace experience. So as you can see here, we can this is one of the best projects that I did. the best final project that I did. And we kind of came up with a set of ground rules, right? So nobody will be modifying anybody, others' components, others' codes, and others' assets, right? So they have their own folder and they work inside their own folder, and nobody touches anybody else's work. So likewise, we didn't have we had just like 1 or 2 turbulences, but we were able to collaborate on the project, and we were able to finish the project super clean. So my task here was to put everybody's components all together and kind of polish the whole experience, right? The whole game. And so I'm happy to say that this is not just the competency of this was not only around Unity, but we got some talent from 3D modeling. I think Zach did some cool 3D models, and then we got some cool scripts, some sort of a storyline to this. It's an escape room, but we kind of came up with this with a small storyline, and also to give some life to that storyline. Zachary, I think it's Zachary Roth. It's Zachary Rothman. So he used his music and voice experience to take this to life. So that's about it. I would like to show the demo of this. Right? It's not just a demo; it's just the whole experience, the whole gameplay. It's about 6 minutes. I kind of cropped some parts in between. So I'm going to share that. Let's see whether I can upload that video. Alrighty. Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing my screen. Can everybody see this? Oh, good.
I'd say I owe, but you already know what I'm gonna say. Your adventure for the unknown just might get you exactly what you wish for, just not in the way you expected. I mean, sure, the ad to get you on this trip was enticing. A tequila named after you, not just any tequila, but George Clooney. You wouldn't jump on that like hell if you were gonna let your childhood dream of becoming an astronaut go to waste. There's a much more wholesome reason why they can use the stories they tell about you. Because you will make history. There's just one issue. Well, maybe 2. Your ship has just collided with an asteroid and has lost power and most of its functions except for the sound of my voice. Sorry. I'm really hoping they trained you enough for this. So you need to get to the rescue ship. Oh, and sorry again, but it seems like you have a visitor. You might want to take care of it, and before it takes care of you first. You got 30 minutes before you run out of oxygen, so do us all a favor and try not to die, okay? Good luck. Lead it.
Access denied. Access denied.
Have you had any guts? Of course not. Congratulations. It looks like you're gonna get that tequila deal after all. All the stories they will write about you, and I hear that the man himself wants to play in the movie. Till next time.
Well, that was stressful. So I'm going to invite Joe up.
All right, my heart rate's finally coming down. Indika, thank you so much for sharing. That was really cool. I actually really dig these kind of micro, tiny stories. I don't know how else to describe them other than it's just like these really small narrative kind of micro adventures that have a very simple, straightforward kind of mechanic, you know, and a beginning and end, but like just throw you right into the middle of this story without too much preamble. And that's really cool. Like it's a little shock to the system usually there's onboarding. Usually there's like, as players and consumers, we're kind of used to this like slow start. But I love when experiences sometimes just like throw you in there and you're just like, oh man, I got to survive, you know, in just like the first minute. A couple of quick notes from my side. I love how just before the video, you were talking about some of the project management that was kind of involved in how you kicked off the project, how you kind of established some like team practices and keeping it clean. That's a big deal. Those are time savers. Those can help like preserve relationships like on a team dynamic. Project management is a legit skill that I think everyone should try to learn in some way, you know. Being a solo developer, I think, is a very important thing for everyone developer to experience, but like also how do you work across personalities, time zones, preferences, you know, like all that stuff. So I love that you brought that up, and that team composition is key, you know, having art on board, dev on board, someone with story, audio, like having all the right pieces in play is an important part of any project. I like that you included subtitles, actually. I don't think enough apps do this. But like if you ever have a narrative piece, always try to find and this is just accessibility 101. Like if you have narrative, have an option at least, you know, if it's not already by default, but have an option for subtitles to appear for accessibility. And I love that you did that. The watch mechanic. I love having this like little diegetic piece of information. You don't have to pause to review your menu, your like a menu or your quests or anything that pulls you out of immersion. It's on you all times. You can have it, pull it up. It's a really cool mechanic. I'm glad that you included that. Handguns. So you probably noticed how it was like fisted hand like this, and just like the gun kind of like got shoved onto the hand, right? Having a hand actually grip anything, you know, that's a complex geometry here or a complex mesh is really challenging to have custom animations. That's why in a lot of games, especially in VR, you'll see the hand just completely disappear and it's just replaced with whatever objects it's trying to hold. That's a very common practice. So if you're trying to do both, like keep the hand and the object, that's where you got to get into custom animations. You know, you'll get into some really interesting place there. But that's, you know, what you're seeing behind the scenes a little bit. I was thinking kind of through like an audio designer's like mindset a little bit that like if you wanted to make it even more stressful, like have no music happening, have the klaxon, have more like scrapey footprints, have a little bit louder like spatial audio from those creatures walking around, the zombie dudes, and that makes it into like a horror thriller, you know, versus like a sci-fi suspense. Like it's a fine line sometimes between those, and sometimes it's just the audio design, you know. And I like the direction that you took it. It felt more sci-fi than like horror in that way. I like how you really use lighting to kind of indicate key interaction points. It's a big thing. It's a dark environment, so using kind of light as these kind of guiding way spots. Your watch isn't necessarily guiding you like a map, but you have light kind of guiding you. That's a very important kind of visual indicator that we as humans, you know, are drawn towards. That is really cool. Last thing, smooth locomotion. I don't know if anyone noticed this, but you're walking step by step kind of smoothly through this environment. A lot of applications kind of default towards teleportation, you know, or like snap movements here, but this was all smooth locomotion. It's not everybody's cup of tea, so it's really hard to get right, to not have kind of this visual disorientation or create nausea, you know, or discomfort. So like if for anyone here that's like thinking about smooth locomotion, for me, it's my favorite because it kind of maintains that immersion the whole time. Lots of testing, lots of user testing to make sure that it's working well, you know, across different user segments. So well done. This was really fun project.
Cool. Of course, I also need to give applause to all of my students of the class, because none of these components, all of these puzzles, the assets, the music, the sound, the narrative, and everything was done by them. I was just polishing it out. I was just, you know, putting all of them together and polishing out the final thing. And also the subtitles, you know. So there were a couple of students who were working on like they were putting all-nighters to get that synced properly with the sound, which is really great. So it's an amazing project. So that's why I wanted to polish it out as much as possible.
Last thing for any developers out there, including the groups that presented here today, always find a way to try and include credits, you know, especially if it's a team effort. Sometimes it's just kind of left to the last minute, but it's always nice to see your name attached to a project, and, you know, you show it to your mom, your grandma, like, look, that's my name, my accomplishment, you know, find a way to do that.
Of course.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks both. Thank you so much, Indika. Thank you, Joe, for all of your commentary today. It's really valuable to have you here with us.
Super lovely. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to keep you both on stage for a second. On this note, congrats to everyone. I'm going to bring everyone back on stage. I think that's everyone. Hope I'm not missing anyone. Oh, well, Ozzy. We'll bring Ozzy back up. And just a round of applause for all of us, all of you. Really wonderful projects, everyone. Thank you again, Joe. I know you need to head out, and we are over time a little bit. So just for the sake of time, I am just going to quickly zip through here the rest of the slides that I have. Just so that everyone who's watching after the fact or watching at home right now knows we do have a prize draw. So I'm going to do this offline, but essentially in order to get entered to win the prize, which is a one-on-one session for free, you just need to complete your heartbeat surveys and your wrap-up surveys throughout your course. So that is how you get entered into the draw. So this particular draw, of course, is for XR development students, because that's what this demo day was all about. So I'll be doing the draw offline, and I will post the winner. We, of course, do have multiple courses here at Circus Stream. We have XR development with Unity. We have XR interaction and design and prototyping. What's happening to my English this afternoon? I need to eat lunch is what I need. And then we have Unity Developer Bootcamp. So our next XR Dev with Unity course is starting up on May 17th. Our next design course is starting up on April 20th. And our boot camp is launching on April 11th. So if you are interested in learning more about any of our programs, definitely visit our website. Visit our website. And I am going to post our Slack channel here in the comments, because I would love if any of you who are interested would come and check us out on there. Come join us, send me a message. And yeah, with that, I will end our live stream. Thanks so much, everyone.